So, as is often the way with sermons, I came up with this great title, Fresh Start, which is kind of the theme for the service. But as I wrote it, it turned into something else. So, kind of new thinking rather than fresh start. So bear that in mind. In the reading, we hear about the Magi, men who were educated, travelling to Bethlehem by way of Jerusalem to see Jesus. We are told they followed a star. Now that to me sounds a little bit crazy. I mean, surely they had better things to do than just wander around following stars. However, if we come to realise that they were actually astrologists, and they clearly saw something in the stars that led them to head west, it becomes more realistic. It becomes more believable. And they headed west in search of something new. The thing is, navigating by the stars is a well-accepted skill. England's mastery of the seas relied on it. Explorers throughout history would have got lost without it. So it seems clear that these men from the east could have used it to find their way to Jerusalem. But why didn't it lead them straight to Bethlehem? Why did they need Herod to point them in the right direction? Maybe the star didn't just hang over the stable where Christ was born. Maybe it was just a guide, like the North Star, just to give them the right direction to head in. I don't know. There are a huge number of theories around the Star of Bethlehem. What it was, what it meant, where it came from. But does it really matter? Is it important whether the star was a conjunction of planets, a comet, or an actual star? Surely the most important thing was that these men, these magi, listened to their hearts, and in doing so, not only met Jesus as a baby, but also avoided trouble with Herod. That little voice inside of them pushed them to travel a long way to see something special, to be a part of a story that would speak to people for thousands of years. Now to me, that is the miracle of the star. So, these men, these magi, who might well have been more than just three. The number three came because of the gifts they carried: gold, frankincense, myrrh. So it seemed logical, 3 gifts, 3 men. But some Eastern churches believe there may have been as many as 12 that travelled. These men have been called all sorts of things: wise men, kings, and magi. Although, when reading back, it becomes more obvious they probably weren't actually kings. But back in the early days of the church, things like astrology were looked on as witchcraft, as dark arts. And let's face it, you don't want the story of your Saviour to begin with evil men. So perhaps the early church calling them kings made it a bit easier. And in those days, men of science or learning were always thought to be wise. But it seems to me that if you look at it from another way, these were probably the first recorded famous geeks. They were all about science. They studied astrology. But even so, they still travelled a huge distance based on a feeling. So in some respects, it was science that first proved Christ was special, and scientists who were the first to acknowledge him. That to me was quite an eye-opener, quite a shift in mindset. When we consider that most people claim science and faith are at odds with one another, that science is there to disbelieve faith, discount it and disprove it. Yet it seems that science was at the very start of our faith. So we celebrate Epiphany, the time that Christ was revealed to the Magi. And this raised another point, another interesting point for me, is that the Magi were Gentiles, i.e. they were non-Jews. So later when we hear of Peter being sent to spread the gospel to the Gentiles, in many ways he was taking it back home, back to its very beginning. It is something that never really connected with me before. I never realised that far from being latecomers to the party, as it seems when you read later stories in the Bible, Gentiles were there at the very beginning. So perhaps it's Christ's inclusive nature, his outreach to people outside of his religion of birth, his people, started at his very beginning. Perhaps he was quite literally born to reach those on the outside, born to be inclusive, born to be there for everyone. So that was, to steal the word, an epiphany for me, a sudden realisation of something I had not known before. I do sometimes wonder, though, what happened to those magi afterwards, after they returned home to the east. After all, surely you can't go through something like that, an experience like that, and not be changed. Maybe they are the reason that some of the early churches in the east had slightly different views from the Western churches. Maybe they had already heard that someone incredible had been born, and they were prepared for the message of the gospel when it reached them. They certainly had a different view of the Magi. Maybe they were just waiting for the outcome of those early events to be revealed. And it's kind of an intriguing thought, but maybe the first, I say Christian church, because a church is founded based on Christ, was not where we thought it was. Maybe there was a church that started when the Magi returned home, that preceded the time of Christ's ministry. Of course, by church I mean in the broadest terms. All the early churches were more like house groups where people met in homes. And small groups of people met to pray and worship God outside of the organised religion of the time, the synagogues. In a way, you have to admire those who had open minds like that, those who wanted to come to their own conclusions and explore faith in their own way, especially when the religious authorities had so much power and clearly saw free thinking as a threat to them. So to me, Epiphany is not only the time that Christ was revealed, but also a time of stock taking, a time of looking at things differently, a time of opening minds and hearts to new thoughts, new ideas, and maybe even a whole new view of personal faith. These days we tend to think of Epiphany as being the time when 3 wise men rode some camels over deserts to a stable where they met Jesus and his mum. But what if the true message of that story is that we should follow our hearts, listen to that little inner voice and reach out to others, people outside of what we might call our tribe? Even if it means travelling a long way out of our comfort zones. So maybe Epiphany exists to remind us that, as followers of Christ, we were born to be fully inclusive, to connect with those on the edges of our communities, those who are different, who are, for want of a better word, our Gentiles. And who knows? Maybe we will find that they had always been a part of our story. We just didn't realise it.